We have 46 people who have joined us today. Thank you so much for joining in. Uh, should I be waiting for a minute more or I can get started?
It's 1:06. Let's jump into it. Everybody that's on time. So we'll get going.
Sure. All right, guys. So a people first culture. This is something that we've been hearing, I would say, thanks to pandemic, it's now more than ever. We always knew that we are going to this direction, but to a very large level, I think most of the organizations have realized that employees are not just here for the paychecks, but each and every employee wants to see what value they're bringing on to the organizational structure, success and their personal success. So that's exactly why we are here today to discuss more about employee engagement. Who's going to own this piece, or is it a standalone thing, and more about it. So as I move further, or I start, before I start, let me just state a few housekeeping items. We would love to hear your questions, and we have the last 10 minutes of the segment exclusively for taking your questions. Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box, and towards the end of the session, we'll have our speakers address those questions. Yeah.
Thanks, Naz.
All right. So, so before I, let me introduce my speakers. So I will begin by introducing myself. I am Naz, and I have around 14 years of experience in the people, predominantly in the HR segment, which covers people and culture and anything to do with employees. So what I do mostly is each day I try to bring in something new, something innovative, just to see that the folks I work with are equally happy as I am. Be it be managers, be it be leaders, be it be employees, all together what we can do better is something what I define my KRA as. Along with me to discuss or take the discussion forward, I have two amazing gentlemen with me who are super passionate about this very same topic we are discussing today, that is about people and engagement and what better we can do. I have Paul Haynes with me. He's the Executive Vice President of Americas. He brings around almost 30 years of experience as international management and sales executive. He has been working with global and national companies in the SaaS technologies, and he's been working with some of the world's most recognized brands throughout these years, developing robust global and employee engagement, incentive channel, and loyalty programs. And I also have John Mills with me. He's the Vice President of North America region for Xoxoday. He's been working in the HCM segment space for over 20 years, helping organizations across North America and globally with employee engagement and recognition strategies. So I think the speakers that we have today have extensive experiences who have witnessed firsthand of how employee engagement totally affects the culture of an organization, how collectively manager, peers, or every employee in the company has a pivotal role to play in building that culture of oneness and appreciation. So welcome to both my co-speakers.
Thank you, Naz. Appreciate it. We're excited about being here, and it looks like we truly have a global phone call. People from all around the world, and the people that are coming in late, appreciate it. And for anybody that's here, thank you very much. Today, we're just going to talk a little bit about who's responsible for global employee engagement. We're not taking on the whole global employee engagement sector, but we are passionate about what we do here and how we can share some knowledge and information.
Good show. Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be here. Looking forward to talking a bit about our experience, our knowledge, and getting some feedback from yourselves with hopefully some very good questions that we can answer. And long term, hopefully having the opportunity to connect with each and every one of you.
Thank you, gentlemen. So before I take our discussion forward, I would want to hear a little bit insights or know more about what our audience think of who exactly owns employee engagement, that being the main element of our discussion today. So my team, if you could run a particular poll, that would be helpful. Yes, we have it here. If you all can drop in your answers of who's the most important, what is the most important reason why engagement is important? Yeah, culture, all of the above. All right. Yes, so I think most of the answer is it includes everything: culture, retention, morale, performance. All of the above is totally responsible for why organizations find the need of employee engagement. All right. Moving on. So what exactly is employee engagement? As I was mentioning earlier, the terminologies have changed. Employee engagement is also called employee experience. Employees and employers are not termed that way anymore. Employers are considered as mentors and employees are considered as success partners. I think every effort each organization is making just to bring in that interest in employees to go the cut above the edge. So I would want to hear from Paul, what is employee engagement?
So in today's marketplace, if you look up and you just Google it, what is employee engagement, you'll probably get about 25 different definitions, all around the same language. The easiest one that comes out here that identifies it and has been consistent throughout the years, it defines employee engagement as involvement and enthusiasm in the work and workplace. And obviously today, within the last 3 years, there's been a great deal of change, a great deal of flux in the marketplace and true challenges on trying to get employee engagement, whether it's hybrid, remote, or in office. But at the end of the day, enthusiasm that you're coming into work every day, you feel that will and energy to execute ideas within your workplace environment. We all know that every day this is a challenge in today's marketplace. But we all see this employee when they come in or they work with us, and we also see employees that have the opposite side of it. But the employee engagement side of it, the end of the day, is are they enthusiastic about their work, their workplace, and their culture, and has that been developed and brought forward with them? John, is there thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just want to add that in the past, and I think, Paul, our history goes back long enough where even people I talk to now, they're saying, well, we run our annual employee satisfaction score and it shows great satisfaction. So what leads me to see that 85% of employees in my population are not engaged, and I think it's because people only, first of all, historically they've done those types of surveys once a year, maybe once every 2 years. And that's kind of looking in your rearview mirror. If you're driving a car, you can't do anything to affect change. When you're doing something 12 months, it's too late. And a lot of those surveys were based on really what I call must-haves in an organization. So they're surveying folks with respect to the satisfaction of their benefit program. Is the food in the cafeteria hot? Are the vending machines great? The break rooms, there's anything that we need to do to help you there? Do you feel safe at work? Those kind of questions. And it really has skewed in the past the way people feel about the organization. I might be very satisfied with both my paycheck and the perks I have at work, but I'm not engaged. And I'm actively sitting in a chair, taking a spot from someone that you might want to engage with in the organization. So you have to be careful about how often these surveys are done. More surveys, the better over time, but certainly don't get caught in that trap where everyone I talk to is very satisfied working here. Sure, they're satisfied, but they're not performing at the levels they should be because they're not engaged.
Thanks, John.
True, John. So I think the choice is always with the employees, right? I, as an employee, can always choose to do the bare minimum, but we are looking at the choice where employees would go one level above to see what more can they add value and where they would find that interest in the work they are doing. So I think when you were mentioning about doing the continuous survey and take some action on the feedback we get, I think that's the element that organizations want to look into.
And I think this is something that holds true in life. If you look at team sports or team activities and something that's being coached and coached well, is that how are they enthusiastic about it? You can see the people that walk into the room or walk into an activity they're doing, whether it's personal or business, and they're enthusiastic and they're engaged with what they're doing. And usually that will lead to obviously higher performance across the board.
Yeah. And to just one last interjection is the scary folks in our organization are the ones that we call they're actively disengaged. So the folks that are like disengaged, you can always like really disengage, you'll see those folks, but the ones that are sort of passive and they just do the bare minimum, they like their paychecks, they come to work, but they're not driving business performance. And those are the folks that we have to try to stimulate to be more engaged.
Sure. All right. So we know that, like we were right from the beginning, we know that organizations are, of course, aware that there is something they need to be doing. And like John was mentioning, there are engagement surveys being run probably yearly. They are getting the results that I have this much percentage of employees, who are happy with me, but still attrition remains the same. So definitely there's something that's not going the right way, or there is something that can be improved. So what exactly do you think, what exactly should be the reason why despite running few programs, it's still not happening?
And the key area here, Naz, in the key area for current employee programs, that's a pretty incredible number. 85% of employees worldwide are still not engaged, where there's an active engagement going on. And what's happened here is a lot of this has been put on the HR's back, right? And rightfully so, they have to organize it, work with it. But at the end of the day, if it's not owned by the leaders, if it's not owned by the managers, and then pushed down with the employees, then you get these numbers of 85%. So if HR is trying to carry the burden across the organization and not have full support from their leaders, from their managers, and then pulled through to their employees, then it becomes this problem where that number shows up. And that's where the challenge is in the market today, is how do we get full engagement with everybody starting at the leadership level?
Yeah, exactly, Paul. And I emphasize with HR folks in your positions, because you're tasked with so many different things. You're tasked with populating the company, you're tasked with making sure they're paid well, you're tasked with great benefits, you're tasked with all sorts of things. And then guess what? Senior leadership says, I've been reading a lot about engagement, so we need an engagement program. So let's tick that box off in the HR space. And what happens is, sure, you put a program in place, but then you know what? It falls flat on its face. And exactly what Paul mentioned, you set some unrealistic expectations, or it starts off great and people start appreciating and recognizing each other in the engagement space, but then it falls down and it plateaus. And then senior manager says, well, this program's not working. Our engagement scores aren't better. We're still losing 10%, 15% turnover rates. I can't populate the company to do well. What's wrong with our engagement? Why can't you make it better? And that's a real disheartening thing for people in our business, because there are reasons to make it better. There's ways to make it better, and there's a strategy that you can put in place to make sure that it doesn't fall flat on its face.
And it's also adding metrics that the individuals that are managing the program, managers, metrics that they have no effective change on, and those metrics are not tied in with a business outcome. So the measurement of it for the organization, if it's look at it from a leadership level, it's simplifying the metrics, but also making sure there's a business outcome from those metrics.
Yeah.
Yes, so one of the questions I get asked by the organizations I consult with or who partner with us is how do I involve my managers, or how do I involve more people from the leaders? So it's come to that stage, like Paul was mentioning, that the entire employee engagement piece is outsourced to the Justice League, that is the HR team. And magically, the expectation is that the numbers should go rising up. But based on my experience, what I have seen success in the organization is approach this entire thing as a team, where it's just not a program that you're running, but it's an org-wide initiative where you include right from your CEOs, your CHROs, your leaders, your mentors, each and every employee act as a team, where HR is not the only player, but every team is equally responsible. So I think that's the main thing, right? That it's not just the HR's, HR can't have a magical wand where things would just rise up, but it should be approached as a team.
No, it's a good point. And that perspective holds true whether it's a small organization with 10 employees or a large organization up to 300,000. You still have to build that same muscle in, that it's done on a daily basis, and improve engagement on a daily basis, whatever size organization you are.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, and to give a bit of a sports analogy, it's like, if you want to learn to play golf, first thing you should probably do first is get the right tools. So you need the right tools in place. So you get yourself a set of clubs. Then you want to learn the game, so you might go for lessons. And so you go for lessons, which is training around engagement, if you put that analogy together. And then you have to practice. And so I can't just jump onto a golf course and play well with never playing golf before. I have to practice. So it's the same that holds true for the folks that are giving and appreciating and engaging. They have to have ways to learn what to do from an engagement perspective, appreciate perspective. They have to practice it on a daily basis. And as they practice, like anything else, even sports, you'll get better at it. And as you get better at it, people will appreciate your skills, and you'll accomplish more. So I think that's, for lack of a better word, I'm a golfer, so that's certainly the way I look at golf. And it's the same in our professional lives in our organization. If we expect to get good at something, we have to practice it.
And John, one point though that just comes to mind is I practice golf like heck, and I haven't improved. So there are some employees that have a tough time with employee engagement and performing that muscle on a regular basis. And it's to recognize that and work with them to get over that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You want to go to the next slide, Neve?
So I think why is employee engagement important? Before I get to ask Paul and John, what I truly believe is when an employee is emotionally vested, that's when he would be emotionally vested only when he can place the trust in his leaders, in his manager, in the closest people he's working with. That's the time an employee is emotionally vested, and it's a direct correlation with the way he would perform, the results would be shown. So I think for any company looking into any size company, the end result would be, is my employee happy? If my employee is happy, if my customer is happy, my vendors are happy, my community is happy. So I think that's the reason why employee engagement should be the center stage. I would love to hear from you, Paul.
It's been around, the research has been around for 50 years. If it's done well, bottom line is an increased business outcome, period. And there are large organizations that continually get recognized for that, whether it's the Boeings, the Halliburtons, the Southwest Airlines perspective, that do a consistent job day in and day out. And right now, if you take a look at it, only 15% worldwide and 35% you fall into the engaged category. So there's a great deal of room if you had to improve across the board. In the engagement space, how to learn and how to build this muscle within the organization is key. And you'll get the business outcome that's forecasted. John, did you have something there?
Yeah, I think it all starts with companies realizing that this is kind of the age-old employee want. For example, I want to know I'm valued. I want to know what I'm doing in the organization makes a difference. Whether I turn the lights on in the morning, clean the floors, or I'm in the CEO's office, everything I do is important to the organization. And I want to be appreciated and engaged. I have people engaged in what I do. So if I'm doing a good job, I want to know it. If I'm not doing a good job, then it's a coaching moment, but I want to feel that what I do makes a difference. And that's what drives engagement. I'll get up in the morning and whether I'm working in a home office, I'm there at the time I want to be there. If I'm driving and commuting to work, then I'm there and I'm excited to be at work and do my job. And as I say, I'm one of those, hopefully 35%, but it's kind of a slam on HR space and in our industry as a whole, for even us as providers, that is so small, 35%. There's something missing. And we'll talk more about that in the strategy side.
Thanks, John.
Yes, so this is what we've been discussing, I think, right from the beginning, that whose job it is. Is it just the Justice League, the HR, or else is it each and every employee, or is it from the leaders or mentors? What's your view, Paul?
There's a tremendous information on 70% of the variance in team engagement is determined solely by the manager. And if you take a look at it, are the managers in charge, ensuring employees what work needs to be done, supporting them and advocating for them when necessary, and then explaining how their work connects to the organizational success. So tying all the pieces together. Now you need senior leadership buy-in on this, obviously, but the managers are the feet on the ground, whether it's one person manager within a company or thousands of them with a company, that are feet on the ground, understand the daily challenges of the employees that are working for them, and then how to work with them to raise their level of performance. This is a key factor in all the information that we've looked at over the years. And if managers aren't engaged, aren't trained, do not know how to do proper daily recognition, or not practicing that, it becomes a major challenge in the marketplace today.
Yeah, and I would say it's very simply, it is everyone in the organization, but there's probably four main folks. There's, as Paul, you mentioned, there's the leadership folks. It's from top down that embrace why engagement and appreciation is so important. So you have to, walk the talk, so to speak, and you have champions in the organization that talk about it. The HR leaders have to make sure you have the right tools in place to foster the engagement. The program has to be communicated well. You've got to have a 12-month calendar around your engagement platform and what you're doing in the program. You can't launch the program with much fanfare and then just let it go. It's not going to work. Managers have to be trained, and let's face it, a lot of people get promoted into management because they're good at a skill. They're the best salesperson, so hey, they can manage people now. Or they're the best at this operational side of things, so I'm going to make them director of operations. I'm going to have all these people in the warehouse working for them. but they don't have the people side, and they actually avoid it if they can, because I don't want to hear how you're feeling at work today. I just get the job done. I can't be doing that daily. But it's also responsibility lies with employees, and employees have to realize it's a two-way street. I can't always be recognized and appreciated and engaged and be actively engaged, for example, if I'm not trying to do the same thing, if I'm not reaching out to folks and saying, have I appreciate anybody today? Have I engaged with anybody today in the organization? So it's all those different elements in the organization, all different classes, or not classes, but the levels of management, managers, employees. Everyone has to live engagement.
Yeah, and there's one key factor stat that came up is that, with daily feedback with managers, with employees, regular basis. So defining their roles and expectations, providing training tools for the managers, resources and development, and then create evaluation practices that are happening on a daily basis is more than a 3x return on investment. So that's a pretty key. There's a 3x, and this is a Gartner stat, but employees who receive daily feedback from the manager are 3x more likely to be engaged than those who receive feedback on a yearly basis. The key factor.
True, and I think that's the very reason why organizations have gone beyond, appreciating people on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, the employee of the quarter, employee of the year. But right now, like John was mentioning earlier, it's not a one-day affair or a one-time affair. It is the creation of a continuous culture of recognition, appreciating, or acknowledging. So probably if I was the employee of the month, I would just know that I did something good or my performance was good. But probably if I was appreciated beyond the cubes, not just between me and my manager or team, but across beyond the cubes, more people, knowing where I added a value, or was it for me collaborating on a project, or me, showing a value of respect and trust with my colleagues or work. That's where it also inspires the rest of the team members, and you start working as a team, helping each other and finding value in each other's work. So I think managers definitely plays a huge role in bringing the team together, in uplifting the work or the experience of an employee. So I would also want to know from our audience here, so if you could run a poll, team.
This is the first poll. Thank you.
All right, so we have, so yeah, I feel so relieved that HR is not topped. So initially I saw that HR is going high. Like, okay, we have senior, definitely. So I think everybody is in sync with us, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you. No, but that's exactly where it comes from. It has to start with senior leadership and work its way through. We're getting a little bit long here, so we might have to move this along.
Yes. So what are the drivers of employee engagement?
The simple drivers here, and everybody knows this, what's the purpose of for your organization, core values and behaviors, why are you establishing this, and taking a look at what you're trying to drive within your organization. So if you haven't established them, what are the core values and behaviors that you want to do? What's the development of people that you have within your environment? Do the managers need training? Is the program need development? Organizations like ourselves that can deliver employee engagement programs around the world. A caring manager. Obviously, if you have a manager that's not engaged himself and is not in tune with what the organization is driving, then obviously that's a challenge and it has to be addressed right up front. And one of the biggest challenges is ongoing conversations. not doing what I call a 6-month or a 1-year review. Is how do I have as a manager a conversation with my employees on a daily and regular basis that reinforce their daily needs. They have an understanding of what their position is in the organization and what their accomplishments and expectations are. And then obviously focus on strengths with each employee and each manager, and then support their weaknesses. John, I know you want to jump in on this one. You're passionate about it.
Yeah, I think it again all boils down that people in an organization want purpose and meaning in their work, and I think you're bang on with respect to the development side, a caring manager, and that are appreciating on a daily basis. And if any of you have children out there, and I've raised 4, you recognize your children right away for doing great things, and you appreciate them and first steps or going to first day of school, whatever. So you appreciate, you recognize, because you want them to do those behaviors again. But when we get into the workplace, we stop doing it. And you just have to, if you have teenagers and they're playing any type of video games, they get recognized every second within the game, and that's why they keep going back and keep playing for hours and hours, and they build their skills, and they feel excited to do that every day. So it's the same in the workplace. You have to focus on those individual strengths and appreciate them. And if you appreciate someone just with words for a great behavior, they'll do it again.
Yes. So do we have a strategy, or do we need to maintain a strategy? If yes, what's the strategy we need to be building on?
John, you want to jump in the first one there? I know we were talking about this trust, the key factor.
Yeah, and now we're getting a bit tactical with respect to what a program should be adopted and look at, and we start developing. And then this holds true, as we've said, whether you have 50 employees or 50,000, is you have to start the basis of the program that there's a level of trust from leadership to employees, employees to leadership, that we're putting this program in place because we want really to develop an engagement culture in our organization. And to do that, you really move to the second box, which is you have to define, what are our core values and behaviors that we want to appreciate in this organization? Because people spend a whack of money on developing their core values. But if you actually ask employees, do we live the core values? I would say a great percentage say, yeah, well, we live a few of them, but a lot of them are just out there because it looks good. It looks good in our annual review, looks good in our report, looks good on our website. But if you ask the employees, are we actually living these values? Not all the time. And that's what leads to disengagement.
And I think it's a key factor in anything that establishing your core values and behaviors that you want specifically within your organization. And then how do you communicate and live that on a daily basis? So it's got to be real, it's got to be effective, and it's got to be communicated several different ways on a daily basis. Establishing a budget, obviously, if you're a smaller company, how do you establish a budget to get this moving? And then as larger companies or enterprise companies overall, is what do we want to accomplish? And this has gotten a lot of attention in the last 3 years with the changes of the marketplace, remote, hybrid, in office. How do we actually engage within this new environment? And there's a great deal of change going on in this marketplace for this, and establishing a budget that actually takes a look at how do you effectively do that today, not based on 3 or 4 years ago. And it's become a daily challenge with that. And your communication alignment ties into the budget. How do we communicate? How do we align our ability to work with every single employee and every single manager so they're in lockstep with what we're trying to do as an organization? And that's a hard thing to do on a daily basis, but it's shown to prove itself over time with successful organization and engagement space. And John, you want to cover peer managers, peer-to-peer and recognition?
Yeah, that's what we do. So we'd love to cover it, but all kidding aside, you really have to look at developing a platform and a solution that provides the ability to recognize folks for behaviors, your values. It could be spot recognition with no approval. It could be manager to employee. But you want to be able to go in there and celebrate daily wins. And it doesn't always have to tie to a monetary. It could be just shout outs to people, badges, whatever it might be. But it's getting people engaged in the system on a daily basis to see what's happening and making sure that people are commenting and recognizing each other.
And key enforcement of this is offering learning opportunities. Like we said, all managers are not totally adept at this because they've been very strong in certain areas, but offering learning opportunities for all who participate in this engagement strategy, and then update those learning opportunities as time moves along. Because things change within the market, things change within the organization, and how do we continue to make this a strong muscle of an organization?
Yeah. And then the next one is, I guess it ties back again to trust, is being very transparent in the organization. What kind of programs do you have outside of the engagement program that make you more transparent? What is our diversity and inclusion program all about? Do we have a wellness initiative? What are our feelings about charity? How do we, participate in the community? How transparent are we as an organization that people can look at us and we're happy to look at ourselves in the mirror, for example. And then it's very transparent internally. There's no bad questions. There's no bad feelings. You can come forward with anything in a survey because I really want to see how you're feeling as an employee within our organization.
And a key factor of this, as you're talking about, is a survey structure, is creating a benchmark of those surveys so you can start and look at where it's improved over time. But starting with a benchmark survey. But then it's also, when you do these surveys more often than once or twice a year, what is the action on those surveys, right? So the employees give their input, they give their feedback, and it goes back to a transparent environment. But then also communicating based on your feedback, what is the action that we've taken based on your input? It's a key factor, because if that doesn't happen, then that input dies in the vine because they feel like it's not being utilized.
True, and I don't think it's just big wins or daily wins. I think as a part of being transparent, I think organizations have started to realize to show what didn't go right as well. How like we didn't go through this and it's because of this. So what can we do better? Taking buy-ins from employees or taking their feedback, as simple as we're planning an offsite. Where do you think we should go? Running polls over that. So employees feel quite attached that we are just not given a decision here, but we are part of the decision making. So that also makes a huge difference when employees find value in the suggestions or feedbacks they give and the organization action on it.
Good show.
Yes.
How to improve employee engagement. We've talked about this. We just went through the whole list of starting an employee program, but it's more than, as John said earlier, it's more than a fuzzy feeling. It's more than a paycheck. It's getting leaders to embrace and prioritize it from the start. With the leaders identifying that challenge and then moving it out through HR, through their managers, and prioritizing the full engagement across the whole organization. With that support, we've seen tremendous improvement over other ones that haven't been done throughout the leaders organization, then supported by leaders.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. And I think, Naz, you mentioned it's really having an employee voice in the organization. I mean, if you look at our personal lives, if we're asked our opinion on something, we feel more involved in the decision. It might not always go our way, but at least we've been asked to participate. And so I think that's kind of the grassroots area where everyone feels that I'm involved in this company and I have the ability to voice my opinions.
And it's a lot of times this is put onto HR, and it's up to HR too, which is a tough job to make sure that's communicated to the leaders and then pushed back down. So giving them all the strong reasons to make this a strong program on a regular basis. And a lot of times that's investment. And with the new times that are changing, that's becoming a priority. So wait, sorry, Naz, you got it?
Yes, no, so I think we're almost coming to the last leg of the webinar. So would you want to say how we as an organization, take care of this being the main element or the DNA of what we do?
Obviously, what we want to try to share some knowledge with you today, but Xoxoday is a major supplier globally of several solutions that can solve employee engagement problems. What we'd like to do is, if anybody's interested in further, is talking to you individually and discussing your specific needs and how one of our solutions will then plug into what your specific needs are. And we can handle them from anywhere from SMB up to full enterprise. As John said, anywhere up to 25 employees up to 300,000 employees. So each one has specific needs, and based on geographic needs, based on your type of company that you are, and your expectations, we can address those across the board. And then obviously we want to take the first step. Please reach out to us if further information. We'll glad to provide any information that you may need and assist you with. John, you want to? I know.
Yeah, we just like to talk to people, and we're advocates for what we do. Paul and I have been in this space for quite a long time, and it's an exciting space, and we've watched it grow. It used to be a nice to have, now it's a must have, but it's a must have that's done properly. And that's where our experience comes in from a North American and global perspective. Enough of kind of the sales jargon, but please reach out, because every conversation I enjoy to talk to you, and if we can be of any benefit or consulting for you, we'd love to speak.
Is that going to cost me?
Thanks, Paul.
No.
I would just like to.
No cost.
Is there any questions?
Yeah, I would just like to add a line to what these gentlemen just spoke, that I think when people ask me what's the best thing that you do, I say I just know to talk. So considering that I've been fortunate enough to partner with almost 80 organizations, understanding their rewards, the culture at their end, I'm always there for a conversation in terms of that. Please feel free to connect with any one of us, and we'd love to, talk more on employee engagement and thereon. So we do have few questions that's come our way. So I will just quickly be, in the interest of time, taking those questions. The first question being, how can we involve employees of all levels be equally engaged?
John,
Do you want to take that?
Yeah, go ahead. Well, I was going to say,
I saw your hand up.
well, I think that's really comes down to a communication out to folks that to get involved. You invite them into the system. You want to make sure that they're commenting. You want to make sure they're speaking to each other. You want to really, from a manager perspective, tell people what, or instruct people why it's so important that we're doing this. And engagement and appreciation really is viral. If I'm being appreciated, I want to appreciate. And so, but again, it comes from the top down. People at the top have to be involved. And some of the best programs I've seen in these news feeds is where I've seen the senior executives or the CEOs in commenting. So they're actually embracing the program. They're in seeing what's happening today, what great things have happened in your organization, who's been recognized, who's been appreciated for living some of our values, and then they're commenting. And boy, does that make a difference when an employee that's, say, working in the warehouse gets a shout out from the CEO, hey, thanks for getting that order out today. That meant a lot and made it for a happy customer. So it's getting everybody to embrace the program, and it really starts at the top, filters to the managers, and then employees actually appreciating each other.
It's a great point. And the big aspect that I've seen is when this gets involved, whether it's a small organization or a large, is they make it part of their review process. So if they have a review process with their managers, part of the discussion is, how did you do with employee engagement with your peers? And how did you feel about employee engagement with your managers? And getting that feedback on a regular basis from them, then they know they're going to have to discuss it, and they feel like they're part of the game, and it becomes a daily muscle that's built into the organization.
Yeah, I think when an employee joins, right from his first day till he retires, just not his performance, but be it be his personal or professional milestone, it's equally celebrated by all. Welcoming a new employee, not just my teammates, but probably somebody sitting in the US could be welcoming me sitting in India. An intern could be congratulated by the CEO of the company. These are the few things that we are breaking down the silos, and we are totally making it a flat culture where each one plays their own part beautifully, appreciating, celebrating each and every milestone, making it big there. Next question, what is more important, peer-to-peer engagement or employer-to-employee engagement?
I'll take that. I think it starts again with the managers, with employer to employee engagement. I think is a big factor as long as it's held on a daily basis. But also it's very helpful if you identify when peer-to-peer, if you're working on something or you worked on something and they get recognized for that performance. So it's the same thing as we talked about earlier. If you take sports teams or children, everybody likes to be recognized, and everybody likes to feel good about their work environment. So it's I think the managers is part of it because they're the one that's coaching them, but also it's a tremendous aspect, and that's a part of a social media aspect in an engagement program. If somebody can come on, you can recognize them, a manager, but then it can multiply 20, 30, 40 fold by your peers recognizing you also. And it's key factors, both are key factors.
One question, can these strategies, I think we mentioned earlier, can these strategies be used with small businesses? They have a staff of around 12 members, and employee engagement is important, but they're often outpriced from participating in programs.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that you have to obviously have a budget, but the strategy is the same whether you have 12 employees or 12,000 employees, to be honest, and what we went through. But you don't have to spend a whole lot of money for an engagement program. It's putting it in place, and even if it's just a platform, and it's a soft recognition, it's people just socializing and congratulating each other without any currency tied to rewards. You know, the old adage is you can give appreciation without a reward, but you can't ever give a reward without appreciation. So you don't have to always spend money on that side of it. The technology and the platform you put in place, it's going to cost you a bit of money per month, but certainly we could help you.
Yeah, there's a key factor there, and one we talked about earlier. Every organization can use employee engagement. The key factor was a 3x return done on investment based on doing it right. And that's due to employee retention, employee happiness, engagement in their workspace. So if you can get a 3x return on your investment, and somebody would tell you that as a business environment, then you jump at it, wouldn't you?
Yes, and as they write, it's very inexpensive to say thank you. So I think just like a good job or great work, a thank you also makes a lot of difference. So, and when it's done socially, that makes a difference even more. So I think we are done with our questions. We have gone slightly over time. So I wouldn't want to extend this conversation, but I had a great time, and we still have around 50 people a minute back. So I think all of us came here with one agenda, or the reason why we all are here on this call itself shows how important it is for us as an organization, how important it is for you to take this across towards your employees. So great time speaking to you, Paul and John, and the lovely audience who were with us all this long.
Yeah. And
Thanks, everybody.
I'll just go ahead.
Thanks, everybody.
I'll just finish by saying that it wasn't by accident that Paul and myself left our contact info up there. So all kidding aside, reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you and see if, as I say, if the person out there that has 12 employees and the people that have much more, we can help everyone. So reach out to us.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a great one. Bye now.
Bye.